Hello everyone and welcome to Nido King in Pokemon Yellow. And with the visual gag out of the way and done with, let's go ahead and jump right into the playthrough. Nido King is an absolute beast and I'm excited to bring this playthrough to you today. 81 hit points, 92 attack, 77 defense, 85 special, or 85 speed, I always make that mistake, and 75 special with a 16.41% chance to crit. Now, none of those numbers really jump off the page to you. They're like pretty good stats all across the board. And actually, that's better than you think for a speedrun, because what that means is that Nidoking has really no deficiencies. It's a very balanced overall Pokemon with good stats across the board, and it's slightly slanted towards an offensive rather than defensive Pokemon, which again is perfect for a speedrun. So we're going to have adequate bulk to tank hits. We've got pretty good speed and above average attack. And most ground types in this game really have pretty trash special. Like you think about Sandslash and Dugtrio and all that. So as a unified stat in Gen 1, not only are they not able to really make use of their coverage, like Marowak gets a lot of coverage but can't use it. Not only does Nidoking get a lot of coverage, but he also has a workable special, and that's rare for a ground type. So not only are we going to have stab, Earthquake, we're also going to have coverage like Thunderbolt and Ice Beam, Blizzard, these sorts of moves, which are just incredibly powerful in Gen 1 and will give us all the coverage we need. So Nidoking is a complete monster. There is some question though about the late game. Nidoking does not have access to any badge boosting moves, and in traditional speedruns, it gets items to help it. So not only does it have items which do badge boosted, by the way, so if you use like an X attack or something that will badge boost you, not only are there those items, but there are also the X accuracy items which help you horn drill everything or fissure things in the late game. We're not going to be using any of those items in battle. So there is some open question as to like how good can Nidoking's late game really be without items. We know it's going to be great in the early game because even in traditional speedruns, you don't have to use items in the early game. He kind of just has the answers that he needs. You might be looking at its moveset right now and thinking, Thrash, Horn Attack, Poison, Sting, Tackle. Okay, Thrash is going to be good for Nugget Bridge, but what about Brock? Well, thankfully, we learned Double Kick at level 12, and that is perfect coverage, getting a fighting type move to take on Brock. And with a medium slow growth rate, which is the best growth rate in the game, we're going to get to level 12 quite quickly. So as soon as we dispatch of these bugs in the forest, we're going to get to level 12 after the junior trainer, and we're going to be ready to smash Brock and then not really slow down after that. I'll bring up the run summary just very briefly. I know we have Brock coming up soon, so we don't have long to look at it, but you can see that we're making use of quite a lot of coverage throughout this game, starting with Double Kick, which we get through level up, but then we'll get access to fantastic TMs like Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Bubble Beam, Earthquake, Blizzard, Mimic, and maybe even an Oko move without X accuracy items for a little bit of flavor at the end. So we've got a lot to look forward to, but let's see us learn Double Kick here, and you'll get to see just how well it does against Brock. Now, Double Kick is a physical move going up against physical defense, so it's not as good as Water Gun or something, but you can see how confident I am going in with 16 health against Brock. I'm just not that worried. Even if Onyx uses Bide, it underspeeds Nidoking at this point, so even with a Bide, it can't realistically last long enough to repay any damage. So Brock is down just like that in just over 3 minutes, which is a really fast split for a physical attacker. And will absolutely not slow down after this. In fact, we are going to be turbocharged speeding up. It feels very satisfying, by the way, using Thrash on these little bugs and just seeing one hit after one hit, smacking them down. And that's going to help us for PP conservation as well. You'll notice that each time we use Thrash, even though it hits multiple times, it only reduces 1 PP off of Thrash. So as long as we clear our opponents with 3 or 4 moves, we won't have to use another one. I say 3 or 4 because, of course, Thrash lasts either 3 or 4 turns. I kind of wish it just lasted 3 or 4 turns so it could be a little more reliable. Usually 4 would be better, actually, because occasionally, like that trainer right there, there's 4 Pokemon and you want to take them all out, or sometimes there's 3 Pokemon and you 2-shot one of them and you'd really rather that Thrash lasted 4 turns before you got confused. But beggars can't be choosers. Let's not really complain about this Gen 1 learn set. There are a lot of really trashy Gen 1 learn sets out there, and Nidoking is not one of those Pokemon that has learn set problems. All right, we go through Mount Moon, we grab the rare candy. Let's bring up the run summary one more time because I do want to talk about rare candy usage throughout the game. You'll notice we're going to be using our first candy at Misty, which is coming up pretty soon. Misty is a threat because she has water moves and her Starmie is quite fast. So we're not going to underestimate her. We're actually going to delay Misty until after the rival and Nugget Bridge and all that too, right? So we're going to go for as many levels as we can, but we're not going to go to the SSN because we'd lose a lot of time backtracking, and we don't really want to ever slow down with Nidoking. We're just going to choose when we have a fork in the road to go down the fork that's more advantageous for us. So Nugget Bridge, then Misty, and then down for the SSN and Surge, etc. And then we really, really ramp up once we get past that stretch where Surge and then Rock Tunnel. Then we're going to go get Rock Slide, and then we get to Sylph, and we get Earthquake, and of course we get Ice Beam as well when we get Rock Slide, and Thunderbolt from Surge. So our moveset's really going to come together for most of the game in the early mid-game. As far as candy usage, you see that we are going to be using 9 candies. So that's a lot of candies, but it's not all of the candies. So we're going to be able to skip a couple, like the Rocket Hideout candy is not on the way. You can see here that I have to use Horn Attack. So this is kind of and I'm going to take the run summary off so we can look at the battle here. This is kind of a sketchy fight, mostly because we can't use Thrash at the beginning. We had to use Horn Attack because we don't want to get locked into Thrash. We need to use Double Kick for the Rattata and the Eevee. And when I say it's kind of sketchy, it's only kind of sketchy because I'm intentionally going for Red Bar here. So now we get to see what a fully unleashed Nidoking looks like using Red Bar in Pokemon Yellow. Even in a 4-time speedrun, I think it's completely viable to do it. There are some quick attack users, but Nidoking has pretty good HP, pretty good defense, so it's not actually taking that much damage to quick attack. And we actually want to see quick attacks every once in a while just to keep us in that Red Bar, or else we'll level up out of it. Now you might be wondering how important Red Bar really is. Well, what I've heard is that it's about a third as effective in yellow as in red. So like red and blue, you get a huge advantage. Oh my God, we went down to 1 health. So Red Bar is not it's not for the faint of heart, okay? It's not for the faint of heart. You miss a damage range, you Gen 1 miss, you get quick attack crit, like you can go down. But hey, you know what? I was committed to getting like a really great run. I wanted to showcase Nidoking's skills, and one of its skills is crushing through Nugget Bridge and doing so efficiently and very quickly on Red Bar. So it does save time, but it saves about a third amount of the time that it would in red and blue. Even still, it's noticeable. So what I've noticed is that I think it's about 15 or 20 seconds if you're able to hold Red Bar for the stretch between Nugget Bridge all the way through like Rival 4. So, you know, you figure that's about a minute of game time or 15, 20 seconds of real time at times 4 speed. It's not going to move the needle if you're not really optimizing it heavily. But if you are going for the absolute best results, like if you were in a race scenario where you're trying over, you know, even hundreds of playthroughs to get the best time, then you would absolutely want to use Red Bar. It would be worth going for. I did use a potion there. Just because I was on such low health and I was coming up on that Rattata that can quick attack. So, yeah, if I was a little braver, if I wanted to commit to the like perfect optimal playthrough, then I would have just not potioned there and hope to just get through everything. But I decided it was time to chicken out and use 1 potion there. We're going to fight this rocket coming up, the secret or the innocent bystander rocket rather, and I'm healing before him because he has a drowsy, so the drowsy is quite scary, and then I need the health anyway afterwards to fight Misty, so may as well potion up there. I think the drowsy is a range. I'll confirm that and put that on the screen and post here, but you can see that after this trainer with Goldeen, I'm going to go up to level 24. At that point I will be speed tied with Misty's Starmie, with not very good chances of 2-hitting it, like a 40% chance of 2-hitting. Contrast that with level 25, just 1 level higher. We're both going to outspeed the Starmie and not just one-shot the Staryu with Thrash, but also have like a 99.8% chance to 2-hit Misty's Starmie with Thrash afterwards. So it goes from a very sketchy fight to a very, very consistent fight, one that you don't even have to save for with the use of 1 rare candy. So I think that's a really good use of a rare candy. And in fact, there were a couple Pokemon earlier that I didn't have a 1-hit range on, or at least not like a guarantee on Nugget Bridge. So I think that if I was to go back and reroute this, there's actually a possibility for not just using the 1 candy in front of Misty, but maybe using 2 candies earlier, getting a couple more 1-hits in there, and then doing like 1 optional trainer later on to make up for that lost candy. So I think there's still room to explore with Nidoking. He's incredibly powerful, and one of the things that I learned about playing a very strong Pokemon is that you might think there's not a lot of options because you just fight near minimum battles and then, you know, game's over. I have found that that is not the case, because a Pokemon with a lot of strong options makes it hard to know which strong option is the best one to go for, right? Like Nidoking gets a ton of coverage moves, and I am learning Rock Slide for just a very short portion of the game, but I could easily have kept that for longer. Do I teach Ice Beam right away? Do I hold on to it? Do I not teach it at all and then I go for Blizzard? There are a lot of interesting choices that you need to make when you're routing a Pokemon like this, and it's not super obvious. Now, this is one of the candies that I skipped with Vileplume, for instance, and some of the top Pokemon don't need it. Because, like I mentioned, Nidoking doesn't have the absolute strongest late game, we are going to have to train a little bit more than some of the other top tier Pokemon to put up a great time. The good news is that Nidoking's training is very fast, and so like you see that's okay, 2 1-hits against the Gentleman, and then you get the rare candy, so hard to argue with how fast that is, but we're not going to be like on minimum battles. We are going to take efficient training here and there throughout the playthrough to hit a level 58 finish. Okay, rival down. Let's check in on the clock, and you can see that we are at less than 11 minutes still about to go in and fight Surge. This is an incredibly quick pace. And what would you expect, honestly? We knew that Nidoking was going to be a complete monster in the early game, and so far he has not disappointed. By the way, it is super annoying that Nidoking doesn't learn Dig. Like, why? He's a ground type. Why doesn't he learn Dig? Like, okay, I know he's like big and clunky, but like, Rhydon learns Dig. They're like the same kind of build, right? Why wouldn't Nidoking learn Dig? So anyway, like Dig would solve the Raichu. Not that Raichu's a problem anyway, but it would just be like a 1-hit instead of a 2-hit range. It would have also made the Misty fight a lot easier, right? So perhaps if you get a guaranteed 2-hit with Dig using Nidoking, which you definitely would, much earlier than Thrash, you wouldn't have to use the rare candy at Misty. So like there are considerations like that. Also, Dig is better when you're speed tied, funny enough. Well, better or worse, depending on if you're lucky. Speed tie interactions are so funny in Gen 1, especially with Bide, but Dig and Fly are a little funny too. So, okay. We dug out of there. We're under 12 minutes. Surge is already down. I'm moving the candies near the bottom because I won't be using those for a while. Actually, our next candies aren't coming up until just before Koga. And let's talk about, while we have a little bit of downtime here, what the next obstacles for Nidoking might be. The self-destructing hiker can be annoying for physical attackers to get through, but we have access to Bubble Beam already on our set, so we're not worried about that. Next threat could be Erica, but we're not going to wait. We're not going to fight Erica until we have the levels for her. Like we don't want to get sleep powdered or something, right? So I think it makes sense to hold off on that until you have 1-hits on at least her next 2 Pokemon. It's fine if we 2-hit the Tangela, but we don't want to give the more competent Pokemon, the Gloom and the Vileplume. Wait, Vileplume? The Gloom and the Weeping Bell. We don't want to give them chances to mess with us, so we're going to wait until level 39 to fight Erica. That means that we'll be fighting the rival and Sylph before we fight Erica. The rival is a little sketchy because the Sand Slash likes to cause problems with Sand Attack, and the Cloyster likes to cause problems because it's a water type and it can use water and ice moves against us. It's water ice, and it will use stab water ice moves against the ground type because the rival has good AI. So you might think that we'd want to delay that fight, but actually Nidoking has the coverage it needs. And then once it has Earthquake and Sylph, that's going to be important for the whole rest of the playthrough. So I don't think there's really any question about it. From a routing perspective, we need to get Earthquake as soon as possible. It's our best move, and that's going to be our path to success for the fastest playthrough that we can in this speedrun. So we will just take the luck, right? So if we get Sand Attacked and we lose, we'll just reset and try again. I am taking resets here. It feels a little funny because I've been running the Mew race recently. Actually, the Mew race just finished as I am recording this voiceover. And I got used to, for like 2 weeks, just not saving ever because there's no way you win a race saving and taking a reset somewhere. As much as it's kind of exhilarating to play in that way, I think I'm going to go back to saving in front of dangerous fights and accepting a reset here or there. As much as I love to expect the best out of myself, I do want to get different Pokemon played and not just reset because of a little bit of bad luck here or there. And I think we can still get a good indication of how good the Pokemon is, even if we take a couple of resets here and there, as long as they're relatively quick resets and we're not taking a ton of them. So here I heal up, and it's time to go pick up some key moves. In this mart, we are going to get some vitamins. Now, you may wonder if these vitamins are worth it, and I kind of wonder that too. One thing that I've been seriously reevaluating is the efficacy of picking up vitamins at all. I think especially if you're skipping a rare candy and you're not fighting a lot of optionals, it may be the case sometimes that taking an optional battle is faster. I think in this case, it probably still is the correct choice to pick up the calciums. And the reason for that is that we really have the physical damage that we need already. So Nidoking's attack stat is already, and I picked up, I accidentally bought 2 calciums or tried to, and it wouldn't let me. I meant to click 2 as a misclick. But Nidoking already has a very strong attack. It's already got Brock's badge boost for attack, and it gets Stab Earthquake, which is a physical attack. So we have all of these things kind of stacking up in our favor for our physical attack. And because of that, our special attack is kind of lagging behind a little bit. And so those couple extra calciums are going to help us with some damage ranges throughout the playthrough. It tends to be that if you need stats across the board, then it's better to just skip vitamins and go for more levels. But if you only need specific stats, like you need a little bit more special or you need a little bit more speed, that's when vitamins can be more efficient than training. Now you can see that we have a pretty beastly learn set. We've got Thrash, Thunderbolt, Bubble Beam, and Rock Slide. By the way, I kind of skipped over it. I didn't even talk about it, but we walked right by the Body Slam trainer. Body Slam is usually, and please don't watch my playthrough. Pay attention to me. Don't watch what I'm doing. I hit Thrash like a lunatic. I have no idea what I was doing, but I got super lucky and I crit the Eevee. I didn't mean to do that. That wasn't part of the game plan, but it kind of worked out. But oh my gosh, ridiculous. So if anyone was just listening to the audio and not watching, I used Thrash early in the fight against Rival 4 by accident, even though he's got an enormous team, and it kind of just worked because Nidoking crit stuff like a monster. But Rock Slide is an interesting choice here. We are keeping Rock Slide for not very long at all. We're going to need Ice Beam for the Sand Slash on the Rivals team coming up very soon. And there's no move, like there's no real flexibility on the set. So we're going to get rid of Rock Slide like as soon as we beat these ghosts. I do think it's still worth it because if we use Thunderbolt, we'd be two-shotting all of the Ghastlies, and these Ghastlies control us. Like, we're not a normal type, so Lick could paralyze us. Of course, Confuse Ray could be a threat. I'm not too worried about losing the fights if I two-shot, but I am worried about wasting a lot of time. So I thought that on net, it was probably better to pick up Rock Slide, 90% accurate, 90% chance to one-hit, and not give them a chance to mess with you. I will say this is one thing where the format matters a little bit. So again, if you're going a race format where you're committing to like a couple hundred playthroughs for Nidoking, maybe you just go for Thunderbolt and you accept those 2 shots, and it saves you a little bit of time and dialogue over talking to the girl and learning the Rock Slide TM. But in a case like this, I think it's just, it makes a lot of sense from a safety perspective. It's just a lot more consistent to have the answers when you need them. And Nidoking is in a kind of blessed situation where he has the answers, and it's so many answers that it's kind of a luxury, right? Like most Pokemon, if they get Rock Slide, it's probably one of their best 2 or 3 moves, especially if they're a physical attacking Pokemon. For Nidoking, it's kind of expendable because he has so much coverage. He's like, okay, I can use Rock Slide just for a little section of the game, and then I'm good. And so here we're going to fight the Machoke Rocket. We're going to get access to our best move, which is Earthquake. Nidoking does not get Swords Dance, but it turns out that he doesn't really need it. It would be nice, of course, and I would pick it up if he got access to it, but we don't have access to any badge boosting moves, and Nidoking is kind of such a beast that he doesn't really need it, as long as we just make sure that we stay up on levels. Here I'm taking the opportunity to teach Ice Beam at the same time that I teach Earthquake, and that extra Carbos is so we can outspeed the Kadabra. One thing that I meant to mention when we were talking about Nidoking's stats that I didn't get an opportunity to because the game moved so fast and he was already off to Brock, is that Nidoking is quite quick. He's quite fast, and you might think that it actually is too much speed for a solo run because it tends to be that when you're looking at stat allocation, you don't want too many stats. It's not like competitive Pokemon where being fast is super, super important. Because we have stat experience and sometimes we're over leveled anyway, a lot of times in a solo run, you don't want a lot of your stats wrapped up in speed because you're outspeeding most stuff anyway. But in Nidoking's case, because it's a poison type, I think it actually advantages it to have kind of a higher speed stat, because that means we're going to be able to outspeed key opponents like psychic Pokemon, like Kadabras and Alakazams and stuff like that. So it's going to be really important. And we're going to pick up 1 Carbos in the overworld as well. What we already did and used it, because we can use that to outspeed things. So you see that, Sand Slash, you know, sometimes that Sand Slash is just the biggest pain. So you teach Ice Beam, you have super effective damage. This gives us the 2-shot range, which I think Bubble Beam is actually a 3-shot because we're at level 34, but it crit the second time around. Thank you. That's what we wanted to see. Then we have Thunderbolt for Cloyster. It's going to have to accept the 2-shot. We're down to 57 health. But with Stab Earthquake, even at level 35, we have guaranteed 1-hits against the rival's next 3 Pokemon. The Kadabra goes down. We have 1 speed more than it. It's at 84 speed. The Flareon goes down, of course, super effective stab damage, as well as the Magneton earlier than that. So you can accept a little risk knowing that the first two Pokemon are very sketchy to get through, knowing that if you do get past that initial wall of the Sand Slash and the Cloyster, then you're home free against the next three Pokemon, outspeed and guaranteed one hits. Similar story here. It's not one hits all the way, but we're not really too worried about it. I have to use an elixir, which slows me down a little bit against Giovanni. But we are kind of just crushing through everything now that we have Stab Earthquake. So we're going to have super effective damage against the Nidorino. We're going to do a lot of damage against the Persian and a badge boost our attack there, giving us a one-shot. And then Ice Beam against the Rhyhorn. Probably could have Earthquake that as well. And then Earthquake against the Nidoking. Doesn't one-shot, but gets it down to low health. And I don't think there's anything it could have done to us anyway. So we're off to the races. Charmander digs us out of there. And what's next? Well, it's going to be Erica. But I think we go to the Safari Zone first. This is a very common thing where you want to have your rally point at Celadon because it allows you to dig back to a convenient location. So if we went to Erica right now, then we'd have to fly back to Celadon anyway to make our way west to get to this biker road. Instead of doing that, and I picked up the rare candy first time, ooh, instead of doing that, where we go to Erica, then fly back to the Celadon Center that we just came from, and then go down Biker Road, it's a lot more efficient. We save a fly animation. If we go down Biker Road first, we have to dig out of the Safari Zone anyway, and we're at a high enough level we're not going to run into encounters. It's going to take us back to the same center that we want to be at, and then we bike down to Erica. It may not seem like a big deal, but that's about a 4 or 5 second time savings, opening the menu and flying somewhere, and those add up. Those add up really fast. Here, by the way, I'm cutting down this tree. I've always done this, and I've recently found out by watching Xarian that it's a little bit faster to bike around than to cut that tree down, at least on foot. So I think I'm going to experiment a little bit with that, probably practice that, see if I can dedicate it to muscle memory, and you might see a little bit of different sort of routing from me there in the future. We're talking about like a 1 second time savings or less. But I think this is the point we are in these optimizations. You think that we're about done, and I was thinking that I was one of the top players in the world. I found out by watching the one-time speedrunners that I have a lot to learn still, that there is a lot of room for improvement, especially with my bag. So you see that maybe it doesn't look like a huge time bleed at times 4, right? Because I'm going where I want to in the bag for the most part pretty quickly. But if you are watching one-time speedrunners, and I don't know if you are or not, but if you are, I think you will be surprised, or you will already know, watching one-time speedrunners, that their bag management is quite a bit better than mine. I've watched it a little bit, but it wasn't that obvious to me until recently when I really looked with a critical eye. A lot of times they are accomplishing many things at once. I try to be efficient when I open the bag and go right where I want to, but I haven't planned it out as well as they have. And a lot of times these gym leaders, they give me TMs as well. So one thing that I'm going to work on in the future is filling up my bag so that they don't yap my ear off, telling me about how awesome their TM is. It's one thing that I've thought about before and I've tried to plan around a little bit, but it's never something I've taken seriously. But I've learned that if you save a second here, you save it a couple seconds there, you save a fly animation there, you save 5 seconds here and there, that can add up to like a whole minute. And then before you know it, someone's a minute better than you. And a minute better than you in a 30-something minute speed run is quite a bit better than you. So, yeah, it's an exciting time. It's been a little bit humbling for me recently, but it's also exciting because now I know that there's a lot more room for improvement. I was kind of under the impression that the main room for improvement for me was just going to be playing more runs, practicing in my overworld, getting a little bit smoother. And now I know that there are actually things that I can drill. By the way, I'm using 5 rare candies right here, which is maybe a little bit interesting. You don't normally see me do it in front of an NPC like that. But I did that for a couple reasons. One is I need the levels for Koga anyway. And 2 is that it gives me 1 hits on the Drowsy and the Hypno. So I don't have to worry about them injuring me before the fight or anything. And it's just more PP efficient and it's faster, right? So if we can line up the candies, I think this is the better way to do it. Now, we have a guaranteed 1 hit on the Venonat, but then as the levels go up, we have a smaller and smaller percentage. Perhaps I'll put them on the screen. And that last Venonat, even though it doesn't look like it, was actually a range. And it has a chance to either use Sleep Powder or Psychic. And once I'm asleep, it's only going to use Psychic. So that was quite a painful reset there at Koga. Maybe I should have reset immediately when I got put to sleep. But yeah, that's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. I think this would be way better in red and blue than it is in yellow. This is a tough fight. I took Koga seriously, but he still got me. And then again, he puts me to sleep. And again, he's using Psychic. I woke up. My special fell. I don't have a 1-hit on the Venomoth unless I get a crit. And that was so clutch. I feel like maybe I should have just reset again. Like mathematically, that was probably not the choice to fight it out. But I did fight it out, and that time it paid off. By the way it's mapped out is that I have a chance to one-hit that last Venonat, but if I don't, I have enough health to survive a Psychic from it. I don't know. It's tough, though. Like, it's tough. There's also a chance that it can miss a Sleep Powder, or it could use an X attack. So it probably was the right choice to play it out, just because Koga could drop the ball with an X attack on that final Venomoth. But it is scary. That's definitely a concession of this route. It would be better if I was a couple levels higher for that, but you're kind of landlocked. Like, I would love to fight Blaine before Koga, because then I'd get that easy level up experience from the fire types. I'd be one-hitting his first two Pokemon, two-hitting the Arcanine, like get some good experience, and then you go back and fight Koga afterwards, but you just can't, because Koga locks Surf out of battle. So I'd kind of already done what I could do, right? I fought Rival 5, I fought Erica. You have to fight Koga. Now, I could have fought Sabrina, I guess, but Sabrina's not even great experience. Like, you think of her as like a major trainer, and she is, right? But I have a type disadvantage against Sabrina, and the Abra gives trash experience. The Kadabra gives only okay experience. So the only Pokemon on our team that really gives great experience is the Alakazam. So I'm maybe only gaining half a level from that anyway. So it's not like super efficient to fight her before Blaine. So I was kind of stuck in a position where I thought, routing-wise, it just makes the most sense to take a risk there. And then Blaine, by contrast, is going to be very easy now that we have the extra levels that we use the candies for Koga on. Okay, so I bumble around a little bit there. I answered the Tombstoner. Shout out to Gym Leader Matt. And Earthquake's going to take care of the first two. I'm at 124 speed, which is great because I'm outspeeding all of the Pokemon on Blaine's team. Arcanine is going to get one chance to attack me, but none of its attacks are especially scary for Nidoking because Nidoking has good bulk and there's no type disadvantage. So just tank a takedown and then move on. We will fight Sabrina next. It's the last one available. I fumble around a little bit for full restores. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but definitely bag management is something that I'm going to work on. Okay, here I pick up Mimic. You might think with all the coverage options that we have, why on earth would we need Mimic? Like, you know, we have everything we need already. Why not just teach the TM if you need to move? Well, Mimic is specifically for one trainer, and that's for Lorelei, because Amnesia is going to be really important to get past the Lapras. Okay, Sabrina. We are outspeeding her first two Pokemon, and they are guaranteed one hits with Earthquake. Alakazam is faster than us, and it does get a chance to attack. In this case, it uses Psywave for exactly 0 damage. Did you see that? It didn't miss. It didn't miss. My avatar shook around, and 0 damage. So the minimum roll on a Psywave, fun trivia fact, is not 1 damage, it's 0 damage. What a trash move. If you're wondering about it using Psychic there, I actually am guaranteed to survive against the Psychic, and I'm guaranteed to one-hit it with Earthquake. So the only way I lose is if she crits me, or if I get like a Gen 1 miss. Okay, next up is Giovanni. Giovanni can always be a threat, especially if you don't outspeed the Dugtrio. Wow, I'm professional. I got myself on mute before that sneeze. And we are not going to outspeed the Dugtrio unless we use a couple rare candies. So I'm going to do exactly that. I do not like losing when we could play around it like in this way. It seems like a very small cost to use the 2 rare candies just to get us up past 133 speed for the Dugtrio and past 135 speed for the Persian. Just speed this up a little bit. And Earthquake is just beasting all of the Pokemon, although we took quite a bit of damage from that Nidoqueen. The Nidoqueen is it's a range, and we kept Bubble Beam on the set. I haven't talked about it. We kept it this whole time for the 4 times damage against Rhydon to finish off Rhydon, because Rhydon would prioritize Earthquake. Giovanni has good AI, so as long as he doesn't drop the ball with like guard specs, he's actually a formidable opponent for Nidoking. So not only did we need the speed to outspeed the first 2, we also needed the extra damage from the levels too to have better ranges. Like, even though the Nidoqueen got to attack us and take us down low, we had enough damage to guarantee a 1-hit on the Nidoking and the Rhydon. Okay, Rival 6 is a pretty trash trainer. We have Ice Beam, which is great, and Thunderbolt, and you know, we're just not worried about this guy at all. This guy's a joke. The difference between Rival 6 and the champion fight is just a huge difference. The Kadabra hasn't evolved yet. The Execute hasn't evolved yet. The Sandslash doesn't have Earthquake yet. So like all of his Pokemon are just like worse versions of themselves. Even the Flareon is, I mean, this Flareon knows Smog. He's not going to use it against Nidoking, but even the Flareon on the Champions team, which is not especially good, is still a pretty good upgrade over what he is at the Rival 6 fight. checking in on the time, we're at 29 minutes with 2 resets going into Victory Road. It's quite a quick pace. So Nidoking does have a chance of getting into the S tier today with under 35 time. One thing you're going to love seeing, and I am going to hate seeing, is my navigation of Victory Road with the bike. I've been using the bike in Victory Road because I think that it's obvious that it's going to be the best long-term, right? Like as my muscle memory gets better, it's going to be faster going through Victory Road with the bike as opposed to without the bike. However, in the short term, God, look at me miss that door over and over again, or the ramp, whatever it is. I miss the ramp over and over again. In the short term, there is pain to this. So please forgive my time bleed of a few seconds, missing ramps, missing doors on the bike. I think this is a long-term play to get better at the game and push for times that other people aren't getting. I think I'm already one of the better players out there, but there's certainly room for improvement for me, and I'm not the best player out there. So I want to be the very best, the best there ever was, you know? All right. Super Repel, bike. I like spamming those together. I did chicken out there for a little bit. I was leaking confidence on the bike and I temporarily gave up that conviction to stay on it. But once I got past that Chansey trainer, which has never been a problem before, right, everybody? That's never been a problem, that Chansey trainer. As soon as I got past the Chansey trainer, it is kind of nice actually to be able to spam the last Super Repel out, and then it automatically opens the bike. And then getting rid of the last Super Repel also opens up spots, so you're always getting full restores here, so that guy never tells you can't pick them up. So there is a little bit of nice synergy there. I'm going to go ahead and use one more rare candy. 54 is usually the perfect level to level up after every battle. It's much more important when you have badge boosts, and we don't have any badge boosting moves. So you think, why even bother with Nidoking? Well, it just happens that the damage ranges are better that way. And oh my God, I got crit so hard. Okay, Lorelai's a problem. It just so happened that it was better for damage ranges this way. And sometimes you'll get things like a speed drop where the opponent will badge boost you. And so there are micro advantages to holding your badge boost. Okay, I use Earthquake first in case you're wondering instead of Thunderbolt. Even though they're both 2 hits, if Earthquake crits, it's more likely to give me a 1 hit. So I led with that. It used Rest that time because don't forget, Psychic is super effective against poison. And then here's the point of the strategy. This is why we picked up Amnesia, or picked up Mimic. It's because we wanted Amnesia to use it against the Slowbro. Once we get all set up, we can go ahead and take care of that. And then we have an answer for the Lapras. Otherwise, the Lapras would be very difficult to get past because we can't one-hit it with Earthquake. And yeah, if it used Blizzard without our Amnesia setup, that could be a big problem. 120 base power stab move hitting us in the face for super effective damage. Yeah, we don't want that. Here I'm teaching Blizzard myself actually, and check out the swag of this moveset: Earthquake, Thunderbolt, Blizzard, Ice Beam. We have both Blizzard and Ice Beam on our set. Ice is, in my opinion, the best offensive typing in Gen 1. I know that Psychic types tend to be the best Pokemon, but I think Ice is actually the best offensive typing. Ground and Psychic are both up there too. But Ice Beam is really nice to give us 1 hit on the Onyxes. Blizzard, because it's special and because fighting types have terrible special, Blizzard was actually the only way for us to 1-hit the Hitmonchan, and it also gave us a chance to 2-hit the Machamp if the Machamp went for an X defend after our first Earthquake. So it just has some kind of nice utility there. And then, of course, these Ghost types don't have Levitate, so it's quite nice that we can use Earthquake against them in Gen 1 and just make quick work of all these Poison types, because that's all they are to us. We don't care about their ghostly qualities. We just knock them out as poison types with our ground coverage. Okay, next up is Lance. We have a 67% chance to 1-hit the Gyarados. If we don't, Hydro Pump is going to hit like a truck. I could have leveled up one more time and made it like an 80-something% chance, but no, we are playing a speed run. We're just going to hit the damage range like a boss. Yeah, that's right. And then we're going to use Blizzard. And gosh, does it feel good to use a Pokemon like Nidoking where you're using Thunderbolt, Blizzard, Ice Beam, Earthquake? It's just like, it makes the kid inside of you so happy, right? You don't even bother with badge boost. You just kind of monster your way through the game. All right, Blizzard, 4 times effective damage. Get out of here, Dragonite. And we're going to go ahead and heal up. What's the strategy for the champion? Strategy is pretty straightforward. We've got answers for almost the whole team except for the Executor, which is not even likely to be a 2-hit with Blizzard. So we're using a 1-hit KO strategy. Giovanni gave us this move. The greatest trainer gave us the move. We're going to have to find a way to use it, right? So Blizzard's a 1-hit. Earthquake's a 1-hit on the Alakazam. Then Executor. Boom. No scope fissure, baby. Let's go. It's going down. Next up, Magneton. We have a Stab Earthquake, which has been our MVP move throughout the whole playthrough. That goes down. The Cloister is very dangerous, and we're two-shotting it here, but Aurora Beam is not the scariest thing it can do. And even with the attack drop, the Flareon is not a problem for super effective stab Earthquake. Flareon goes down 34 minutes, 25 seconds, 0.69, a very nice result for Nidoking. I was very satisfied with this playthrough. We had 3 resets, so obviously it could be better. If this was a race format or something, it would be 0 resets. I would grind this over and over again until we had a very low time. However, I think you can see from this that it is very deservingly in the S tier, a complete monster, 2 hours and 13 minutes of game time. I hope you had as much fun watching this as I did playing it and providing commentary. What a versatile and awesome Pokemon this is to play. And it didn't need the items, it turns out. It only took a couple optional trainers, and the late game was still pretty darn good, even without X attacks, X accuracies, etc. So until next time, have a good one.